Pathologic 3 Quarantine released on March 17th, and boy did Pathologic fans eat well that day. During Pathologic 3's prelude and demo, we got to experience many of the new mechanics we will see in the full game's release. My first playthrough took me about 2.5 hours, most of it being spent reading, so naturally, next I looked at the achievement list for the game. There are 14 achievements for the entirety of Quarantine. And while some of them you just get for completing the game, some of them are a little trickier to track down. I like talking lore and theories and game updates, but in today's video, I will be going through how to get every single achievement in one run. As I said, there are 14 achievements. 2 are completed in Act 1, 10 are completed in Act 2, and 2 are completed in Act 3. I spent about 30 minutes running through the game and hitting every requirement to get every achievement in one run. So that is what I am going to walk you through today. Every single achievement you can get within a singular act, other than Tools of the Trade, in which you have to examine the Bachelor's tools throughout every single act in order to get it by the end of the game. I'll be noting tool locations you need to examine throughout the walkthrough so that you don't miss them. Before I begin though, if you enjoy this type of content, please consider giving this video a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton with YouTube and its algorithm. Anyways, let's begin. You start Act 1 in the Capitol, where you are waiting to receive the consequences of your failure in the step. There's nothing really of note during Act 1 until you reach the lab for the day before. This is before the Bachelor heads to the town on the Ghorkon. You'll want to examine the desks, butterflies, butterfly pictures on the wall, and chalkboard in this room for Tools of the Trade. You'll also want to make sure you examine your assistants as well. Before you examine anything though, when you load in, you'll need to press E on the letter from Isidore Burach on the first lab table that is on your immediate right. This will give you How Your Letter Finds Me. This is the letter informing Bachelor Dankovsky of the seemingly immortal man living in the town of the Ghorkon, and what inevitably brings Bachelor Dankovsky out there to begin with. After examining everything in the lab, you'll want to head out. Then once you escape, you'll travel forward in time to your interrogation with the inspector, post 12 days. There's nothing else to examine here. You can run through this conversation if you've already done it, and finish Act 1, receiving Tick, the achievement for completing Act 1. I just want to note here that Tools of the Trade is a little tricky, as I do not have time to run through this game a billion times to figure out which exact tools you need to examine. I just know 2 things. 1, it is really easy to hold down Q and look at everything, which is what you will need to do in order to quote-unquote examine the tools. But 2, whenever I am running through this game, especially for achievements, I am holding Q down almost the entire time. That being said, I'm not sure what the game qualifies as a tool versus a not tool, but I do know at some point that your assistant in Act 2 needs to be examined for Tools of the Trade. So with that kind of logic, I just examine everything. But there are a few things of note that I think are important for Tools of the Trade, so I will be calling them out. We start Act 2 on day 5 in the hospital. Act 2 is the bulk of the achievements, but most of them are pretty simple once you know where to find them. You'll want to talk to the tragedian and head immediately up to the stage. The first achievement we are going to get here is the sedia, which you get for dying of apathy. Also, disclaimer, I think I'm pronouncing everything correctly, but I'm also not going to double check it, so if I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will let me know. But truthfully, you start out pretty high on the apathy meter just from loading in. So you can always just leave the game running and go to the bathroom, which is how I think a lot of people get this achievement, but I chose to take some drugs and expedite the process. Once you die of apathy, you get a sedia. Next, we are getting Overthinking and Richard and Linda. Overthinking is the achievement you get for dying to mania. For this one, I took a ton of drugs and listened to the gramophone in the back of the theater to keep the mania heightened. In order to die of mania, your health has to completely drain rather than reaching a certain level like it does for apathy. Once your mania bar is completely full, start spamming the gramophone and getting your zoomies out. The gramophone should be enough to keep your mania up if it starts to drop, but if you need an extra kick, you can always take some tobacco as well. The gramophone back here is also used for Richard and Linda, the achievement you get for listening to the gramophone behind the scenes. It's a 2-for-1 special. It takes a little longer to get this one than it does to die to apathy, but it is quite silly and kind of amusing to imagine Bachelor Dankovsky just running around behind stage. Now let's play the game. The first thing after dying to mania that you'll want to do is to examine Yakov Little, your assistant, and the broken microscope on the table next to Artemy. Both of these are confirmed for Tools of the Trade and are pretty easy to miss. Again, I am holding Q and examining everything, but I am fairly confident those 2 are realistically the only you really need at this point. but I also examined the 3 patients as well as the table behind the curtains. You then play through the hospital tutorial, diagnosing patients correctly, and moving on to Filat, the last patient. I'll put the correct diagnoses on screen here, but it's really not that difficult as long as you play the game correctly. Once you finish Filat's interview, make sure you talk to Artemy for 3.5 men, and grab all of the drugs in the cabinets behind him. Another one you can pick up at any point really once you have access to Act 2 is Don't Worry, I Have a Degree. To get this achievement, all you have to do is select 8 symptoms in your journal and close the journal with the 8 symptoms selected. I did it in the hospital before I left to go to Filat's house. Before leaving the district though, make sure you talk to the worms and herb brides in front of you. Instead of telling them to bugger off, tell them to track down the missing bulls. I've seen the bulls still be present after returning regardless of if you actually talk to them, but for the sake of not having to redo Act 2 for one achievement, just have a quick chat with them and tell them to go find the bulls. You'll need the bulls for the achievement. Yep, hold on, gotta look that one up. Alright, you'll need it for Kod licet lovi, non licet bovi. I feel like I just culturally appropriated, I don't know, but I did my best, so you're welcome. Once you've told them to go track down the bulls, head out of the district and route to Filat's house. You'll then arrive in the infected district, where you'll have to map your way through on foot. Make sure you talk to Clara here, as well as the executors. Clara, you will need to speak to for 3.5 men, and you want to get the executors to give you the ammo they've collected from various looters. This is vital for tools of the trade. Once you finish talking to them, you'll come across an infected person lying down. One new mechanic for Dankovsky will be aiding plague victims in achieving a peaceful death. We do this through giving them just enough drugs to make their passing peaceful. I don't know how the fuck this video will ever stay monetized, but I pray to the YouTube gods they understand this is a video game. Anyways, this one can be a little tricky since the drugs can have a small effect or a large one depending on where they land within their range. I've only done this method 3 times, but it's worked every single time. I start with camphor to lower the meter, and then hit it with a giant dose of morphine. This usually gets the meter within the 2 lines, but if it doesn't, just give them a dose of valerian extract or bromide depending on how much further you need to go. This will get you fleeting moments. I think it's all but confirmed here that the successful euthanization of a dying plague victim will be the currency Daniil needs to time travel, so I would get pretty familiar with this mechanic pretty fast. Next, exit the plague district to finish your journey to the Skinners. Once you enter the Skinners, you'll see a path straight ahead leading to a man with a broom. To the right of him is a gate that you can examine for Let Me In, a reminder that you are not allowed into the abattoir. After this, go investigate Filat's house, talk to his cranky neighbor, and adopt a child. Then leave. There will be a little girl out front that you can trade with for bullets. I always like to trade her for the bullets, but it's not necessary if you already got some from the executors in the infected district. Just make sure you do one or the other. Next, you route back to the hospital. Once you're in the infected district again, you'll want to follow the path to come across the changeling, Claire's alter ego / twin / counterpart / question mark. You'll want to get verbally harassed by her for 3.5 men. And by that, I mean you'll want to enter a conversation with her. It took me a minute to find her in this run, but supposedly she is on the route your map suggests to take through the district. I've put where she is on the screen though, in case you are having trouble tracking her down. Once you're back out from the hospital, make sure to stop to talk to the herb brides and bulls. You'll then get Kod licet lovi, non licet bovi. Seek a bull's wisdom. As you can see, I skipped Latin classes in high school. After receiving invaluable knowledge from your bull companions, go inside and correctly diagnose Filat. You'll then leave and get talk for completing Act 2 and Medicum Morbo Adeb. I'm gonna have to look it up again. Give me a second. Okay. Medicum Morbo Adibe for diagnosing all 3 patients correctly. Our last 2 achievements to get are now Tuck for completing Act 3 and Tools of the Trade. You'll then be leaving the hospital and heading to Stillwater to have a nice refreshing chat with Eva. On the way, you'll have to navigate through a rebelling district. I took the pacifist route my first time around and never actually shot anyone, but that is apparently not how you get acquainted with the tools of the trade. In order to complete this achievement, you'll need to shoot one of the rebelling townsfolk as you move through the district. Once you've arrived to the Stillwater, the last things you'll need to do is examine some tools and complete Act 3. Once you enter the Stillwater and pass through the room where Eva is located, you'll enter a room with various scientific tools on the table to your right. There should be 4 tools there to examine. 2 of them are little book pamphlets and the other 2 look more like glassware, so you want to make sure you examine all of those, and then once you're done, head upstairs to examine the decrees and the map, and anything else on the table below the decrees. This should give you tools of the trade. Originally, I was playing on a second account so that I could have no cam footage for my playthrough, getting all of these achievements, but when I loaded in to complete Act 3 for this run, I just didn't have any bullets, and I loaded in right before I was going to the Rebellious District, so I just, honestly, I'm gonna be real, I just didn't want to replay the entire thing just to pick up some bullets, so here is my on-stream footage of me completing these achievements. You can't see them pop up, but I promise you they're there. So yeah, once you get tools of the trade, go back downstairs, talk to Eva, and play through the rest of Act 3. Eventually, you'll go talk to Sticky and Khan. They'll send you to go talk to the Shabnak outside, and then you'll come back inside, go upstairs, realize you kind of fucked up, use the little clock, and travel back to one of the previous days. You'll press travel back in time, press escape out of the menu where they ask you to take the survey, and then you'll wake up on said day and talk to Eva. After this, you should be completing Act 3 and the achievement Tuck. And then after that, that is your last achievement for the game. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you got some modicum of value out of this. If you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribe. Like I said, it helps me out a lot and also helps the YouTube algorithm out quite a bit. Additionally, if you're looking to support a little extra, I have a Patreon where you can get early access to YouTube videos and one free shot redeemed during stream per month, which truthfully, I think they like the YouTube videos I put out. I think they like the free shots of liquor during the month. So I say free. I guess you're paying $5 for me to do the shots, so they may not be free. But we like to party over in my community, which is something that that maybe Bachelor Dankovsky will as well once he gets to the town on the Ghorkon. Another shout out is please go check out and follow Steffi over on Twitter. She's a good pathologic friend of mine who helps me out a lot with my videos and is a wealth of knowledge. So make sure you check her out over there and drop her a follow. Anyways, thank you so much again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Peace!